question, we are working with the short run aggregate supply curve. So just to recall, I'm going to draw it up here in the right hand corner. On our y-axis, we are working with price level. So I'm going to write that up here. On the x-axis, we are working with real GDP. Cool. So the short run aggregate supply curve is upward sloping. There we go. I'm going to label that as the SRAS. Now, before we get into the variables that do cause the aggregate supply curve to shift, I want to highlight a variable that absolutely does not cause the short-run aggregate supply curve to shift. If there is a change in the price level, that is a movement along the short-run aggregate supply curve. So whenever you have a question that asks about shifts in the short-run aggregate supply curve, changes in price level should not be part of your answer. But in terms of variables that do cause the short-run aggregate supply curve to shift, we have a change in the labor force, we have a change, which again I'm abbreviating with delta, in the capital stock. So that can be an increase in tools, an increase in factories, an increase in basically inputs that create the product that the company or business manufactures. A technical change, so a technical, which I'm going to abbreviate with tech, change. A change or a delta in future price levels or expectations of the future price level, because you can't really know what the future price level is, but you can have an expectation of what the future price level is. So price level we abbreviate with PL, and this is a change in the expectation of future price level, just to clarify. Then we have adjustments of workers and firms to past expectations of price level. So adjustments ADJ to past expectations EXP of the price level. All right, there we go. And then we also have an unexpected change in the price of important natural resources. So an unexpected change in the price of natural resources. All right, and we're just going to stick that under there. Okay, cool. So we want to figure out if a positive change in these variables causes the SRAS curve to shift rightwards or leftwards. So we are going to look right here at a positive change in these variables and the SRAS curve shift. Okay, so here we're going to write SRAS shift. Okay, right there, cool. So when we write the shifts, we are going to write a rightward shift of the curve as positive, as a plus sign, and a leftward shift of the curve as a negative sign, just to clarify. So if there's an increase in labor force, which means, let's say, a company doubles the number of workers that they employ, they are going to be able to produce more, so their short-run aggregate supply curve will shift rightwards, which we are going to right like that. Cool. If there's an increase in capital stock, which let's say a company that manufactures clothing, they buy a new factory, that means that they have more space and more tools to create more goods. So the amount that they supply increases and the short run aggregate supply curve shifts rightwards. If there's a positive technical change, where let's say there is a new operating system for computers and a company is able to work faster on the new operating system, which is a positive technical change, their short-run aggregate supply curve will also have a rightward shift. If there is a positive change in the expectation of future price level, which means that we expect future price levels to be higher or to increase, that means that the price of inputs will increase. So it will cost more for a company or a business to produce the same amount. So they will be producing less if there is an increase in the expectation of the future price level. So the short-run aggregate supply curve will shift leftwards, which we symbolize here with a negative sign. If there's a positive adjustment to past expectation of price level, now this is very important, because if let's say the expectation of price level before, or if let's say the expectation of the future price level before was really, really high, but it ends up being not as high now, that is a negative adjustment to the past expectation of price level. But if there's a positive adjustment, which means that in the past we thought the price level would be a certain amount now, but now it's actually higher than what we expected it to be, that will also shift the SRA curve leftward, because now we are realizing the prices of our inputs are more expensive than what we thought they would be. On the other hand, if there was, let's say, we expected prices to be really, 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 really low, and they are, okay, you know what, this is good. That's sufficient for that level. And then for the last variable, which is an unexpected change in the price of important natural resources, if there's a positive change in the price of if there's a positive unexpected change, that means that prices like suddenly increased and we weren't expecting it to, and natural resources are an important part of our production, then we will be able to produce less if they cost more, so the SRA curve will shift leftwards, which we symbolize with the negative sign. Okay, and that is the end to that question.